So you guys know that one RPG, about the humanoid that goes through a world of monsters? The one with all the quirky dialogue and like weird battle mechanics and stuff like that? What? Undertale? No, I'm not talking about Undertale. I'm talking about Purple Skittles is a 2.5 dimensional RPG in which you commit animal brutality against dogs, snakes, and egg people. Basically, you demolish them in air hockey. Developed by a team known as the First Church of Bubbleism, led by Matt Bucket, as well as having extremely notable developers like Kevin, who made Blammo, Road to Granby's, and especially Robot 64. In recent years, the group's been disbanded, but it was able to leave relics behind, like Purple Skittles. The majority of tracks being composed by My Bucket and Kevin and sprites being done by Draco Man give the world this goofy and childlike look, as if you stumbled into some second graders art project. The dialogue and humor, as well as extremely self-aware and really awkward to the point you can only really just smile and nod. However, Purple Skittles falls into the realm of broken game, whereas some moments and parts don't really work as intended. Most notably, the entire soundtrack got axed, meaning that the dry humor from earlier probably has less moisture than the cracks of the Sahara. Speaking of increasingly creative ideas and design, every single battle is fought using air hockey. The combat at first is pretty primitive and uninteresting past the point of haha, air hockey funny, but you'd be surprised how difficult and heated a game of air hockey can be. You play as Timothy, who is he's human, alright, that's for sure, but even the snake people don't really know what to call you. You're basically the town delinquent that nobody takes seriously, with even your own bed picking a fight against you and winning. As I mentioned earlier, there's tons of inside jokes or references to other characters in the game, with Mr. Notebos being brought up in conversation. You might be asking,
who's Mr. Notebos? Is that someone I'm supposed to know? And what's up with that door? Is that like a secret area or something?
You'll figure it out later. Anyways, after being sexually harassed by a sign and kicking around another living being like a soccer ball, you get Sparta kicked off into the desert. Here, you finally get released from the tutorial section to do whatever, whether that's shoving someone off a stage or dressing up as the pinnacle of comedy. Not far from here, though, is a skeleton sitting upon a skeleton. At first glance, it feels like a River Styx reference, but this guy is alright, aside from leaving you stranded on the other side with an egg person who's way too self-aware for their own good and a local saloon. The saloon has a lot to offer, like bombs and another piece of furniture that seems to have beef with you. Is there something I'm not getting about the creator of this game and inanimate objects? Regardless, you take the dynamite to a cave entrance to blow it up, to then get to a man who has it. What is it? Honestly, I have no idea, but they imprison the school guy, so it has to be pretty important. Except the guy with it speaks gibberish and also literally doesn't care, so you take it to a businessman and you're permitted into the city. Out here in the city you'll find a lot to love, like a taco salesman that you beat up, or a local jogger that you beat up, or a bunch of rainbow businessmen that you beat up, or a suicidal man that you beat up. It's kind of embarrassing, but I accidentally missed my initial attack against this guy, which then sent me into the most painful anti-soft lock I think I've ever experienced in my life. After you're done beating up every single living thing for simply existing, you can sightsee, like visiting these beautiful rainbow dumpsters, or a reference to 2016 that only true Roblox players will understand. Going back to the Rainbow Men I referenced earlier, there is actually a prize for beating up members of the Care Bears fan club, and that's an infinite Sunny D machine. Translation for those that don't understand, Sunny D in Purple Skittles is a full heal for your character. So, got one shot, full heal. You suck at air hockey, full heal. You want to spit in the face of an enemy that barely did any damage to you, full heal. This machine basically trivializes a lot of the game, so I tried to use it sparingly. Keywords being I tried, but I'll talk about that later. While sightseeing, I found myself inside of an office room with a ticket waiting to speak to Mr. Button. One acid trip later, you meet Mr. Button, who isn't really a caricature of anything. He seems like the average businessman who's surprisingly extremely accepting of his fate. Mr. Buttons, after you defeat him, gives you a flashlight that allows you to get through Slenderman's forest into the local carnival. You continue your status quo by assaulting the special entertainment while checking out the rest of the carnival. Other than this egg person breaking space-time and Ferris the wheel, there isn't really anything too crazy happening here. However, you can't leave quite yet, seeing as you need a special key to get out through this gate. Luckily, literally right there next to the Happy Carnival is an extremely ominous dark village full of strange dark spirits that speak to you in riddles. I tried looking deeper into this place as if there was something deeper here I could even pull or pick apart, but honestly, in Purple Skittles fashion, I don't think any part of this place is meant to be taken seriously. I honestly believe the abandoned village is meant to be a jab at video game villages with overly ominous characters like Lavender Town was in Pokemon. This is only cemented more, in fact, when you pick up an item that jokes about how edgy the location is, and when you fight the boss of this location, House Blob, it's nothing really special, but it does give you the necessary key to continue further. So after you're done home invading and finally leave the worst carnival attraction, you find yourself in a little snowy patch. It's just a transitional location with a group of bandits that are protecting their hoard, which looks like a bucket full of apples, but upon closer inspection is actually just a bucket full of Legos. The next major area is Breakfast Beach in the ocean. Other than the most bipolar pancakes I've ever spoken to, because trust me, I've spoken to a lot of pancakes, there's basically nothing out here. The ocean has pretty interesting landmarks though, like this island dedicated to boxes or this oddly shaped orange island that totally didn't age poorly based upon when this video was coming out. Man, you can really tell this is a 2016 game. Anyways, probably the most interesting part about the ocean is the fact that there's a Blobo, one of these guys with an invention that lets you teleport all the way back to the very beginning, which then lets you skin your bed alive for whooping your ass early in the game and also lets you rematch the alpha snake man that kicked your ass and Sparta kicked you off the top of that mountain. One annoying fight against a gingerbread man later, and also stealing presents from Santa in the desert later, you find your way onto a spaceship and onward to space. This next part about space is majorly unscripted. So first of all, up here in space, it's more or less like a gauntlet. You ever play Pokemon, you have to deal with the Elite Four. Imagine the Elite Four, but they're all replaced with food. I don't know why they're replaced with food, but honestly, they're not even that difficult, like whatsoever. They're rough for sure, or at least to beginners they might be rough, but they're not bad at all. They just have really stacked HP bars and they just kind of take a while to kill. Like each fight lasts like 2 to 3 minutes. And if you're playing air hockey for like 3 consecutive minutes times 4, 12 consecutive minutes of air hockey, and also the space location is very large. Not so large that I feel like I'm walking through an empty abyss, but there's an NPC at the very beginning that gives you an item that lets you move really quickly. If you need an NPC to give you an item that speeds you up, that should kind of give you an idea of how fucking big this place is. There's also a sweet potato, who I guess counts as a badge and is one of the most bullshit enemies I think I've ever fought. Like I did one attack and I think I fucked it up. I'm recording right now so I can't see the odd or the visual footage, but I fucked up my attack, and then the sweet potato sent like a 30-second long air hockey attack against me, and like honestly, as I'm talking about it right now, I'm gonna like layer it on top of this. It's probably still going. Like it's probably still going as I'm talking about it. But anyways, the sweet potato fight, it's not mandatory, it's just a little goofy. And then there's the chicken fight. What's annoying about the chicken fight is that it's not hard, but he is the only special NPC that respawns in this entire game. And I'll get to why that's really fucking annoying. But after the whole space section and you kill the chicken and get past all the food and everything like that, then you get to this random, mysterious looking box. And across this box is cyberspace. This is where things get stupid. Because you know how you just fought through all of space? Now you gotta fight through all of space backwards. Going through cyber chicken, cyber mushroom, cyber onion, and then cyber pepper that have like, I think double the HP that they did last time, which means that it's probably going to be more or less 30 plus minutes of like fighting through space. So if that didn't suck enough, the speed potion that you get wears off after a while. So if you ever wear off and you want to head back to space from cyberspace, you can do that, but then you got to fight your way through the chicken again. At the time, I didn't know about this, and I was under the impression that all 4 of the foods had respawned in space, so I thought in order to go from cyberspace back to the soup salesman in normal space, I would have to go through all 4 of those fights again. Obviously, I'm wrong on that one, but that was my impression at the time, and that annoyed me greatly, mainly because of the enemies in cyberspace. How much damage they do is ridiculous. You get 2-shot. I get 2-shot pretty much by every single enemy here, and when I get 2-shot, I gotta go from that enemy all the way back to the cool doctor. to heal all the way back up, to then walk up my ass all the way back up to that enemy to get 2-shot again. And it's unironically torture. So the chicken, cyber chicken, not that bad. Cyber mushroom, pretty annoying. So past cyber mushroom is cyber onion, right? Because we're going in backwards order. And cyber onion isn't that bad. Like I said before, he's annoying, but he's kind of on the same tier as cyber chicken. Like, I've seen you before. You're not going to pull any shit out that's going to surprise me. Up until you get to cyber pepper. Holy fuck, this guy sucks. In purple Skittles, in order to mix people up later on in the game, they start color coding the pucks. Like with yellow pucks, they fall at a weird pace, or with egg pucks, they're like really large and they kind of take up a lot of the board, or with red pucks, how they wave side to side. This isn't an issue unless they're moving really fast and they all deal a crazy amount of damage to you. This cyber pepper was whooping my ass for maybe 15 minutes before I got so fed up I decided to leave cyberspace to go to space, to beat the shit out of that chicken, to then go to the soup salesman, to buy a ton of soup, to take that rocket back down to planet Earth, to then sail over to that island, to then get teleported back to the starter island, so then I could go, use that fast travel point to get to the city faster, to then just raid that Sunny D machine for everything it was worth. I must have gotten 15 or 20 Sunny Ds before then I left the city, ran all the way back to space, went to cyberspace, and then made a save point. That way, if the pepper killed me after using a bunch of Sunny Ds, I could just save scum exactly right back to that point where my inventory was full of soup and Sunny Ds. It was so cheap at times, and not the good cheap where it's like, aha, this is funny. Like the bad cheap where you walk into a store and all the clothes are itchy kind of cheap. Like, it's not enjoyable, right? So I whoop the pepper, I'm done with that, and finally I get back in the spaceship and I take the spaceship down to Mr. Nobo's house. So after that clusterfuck that is cyberspace, you finally ride the cyber rocket back down and accidentally parallel park it in someone's basement. Interestingly enough, this someone just so happens to be Mr. Nopos himself, who was referenced at the very beginning of the game. Unlike most people, Mr. Nopos is pissed off that you flew a literal spacecraft into his house, so he decides to lock you in the house from the outside, which doesn't make quite sense, but it doesn't really make sense either when you use a TV to exit the house. This only serves to piss Mr. Nopos off even more, so he finally decides a duel for the ages, the final fight. Your friend from earlier is here to watch, as well as every single NPC fused into a disgusting freak of nature that watches with its 20-something eyes, but this air hockey fight isn't any normal fight. You ascend to the 3D realm. This fight is so fucking cursed. Not only are you beating the shit out of a goose in air hockey space, but the collision effects are so comically busted. I actually tried to take this fight seriously at one point, up until the puck flew out into space and Mr. Nopos and I sat there awkwardly staring at each other. So instead I decided to take a more civilized route, which was rushing the puck and spam clicking it to shove it past Mr. Nopos and through a wall. With that victory under your belt, you finally get the chance to talk about why you're here. Anyways, after that, Mr. Nopos summons a bridge and you break through the door that was at the very beginning of the game. Interestingly enough, Purple Skittles was actually left uncopy locked, which means that I got to get a peek into its guts, and it's kind of wild how much there is hidden in the 1.5 dimensional style. First of all, Hank Hill is watching. I have no idea why, but it's almost like a reoccurring joke between the devs to see how much Hank Hill they could hide. Speaking of hiding 2D images though, on that wall that you blow up to get into the mine shaft, you spot some very flattering art. On the opposite side of the spectrum, you spot the least flattering thing the universe could possibly offer. Super stretched SpongeBob with a PNG of what appears to be meat or something has been lurking over the city this entire time. Honestly, writing this script right now, I'm thinking about it and wondering what the fuck is this even supposed to mean. Going back to the small stuff though, there's cute little snow people that you might have missed the first time around, as well as a more edgy set where the trilbies are from earlier. As for the future of Purple Skittles, it did have a non-canon sequel come out, but what I find much more interesting is that due to its uncopy locked state, people have actually gone through and made reimaginings, as well as literal tools for people to make their own Purple Skittles inspired games. The effort of not only the original devs of Purple Skittles, but the continued support from a small community that loved this Roblox game continues to serve as a reminder that being a game dev can be fun. Simply mucking about, whether you're drawing and making abominations or writing and creating witty dialogue and characters. Purple Skittles is and will always be a breath of fresh air to Roblox.
He's a fucking robot.
Exactly. He's just like you, Drew. A fucking
Alright,
bot.
That's so real.